With the Iranian regime watching to judge what and who they are up against in Donald Trump's war, Donald Trump failed another "can he stay awake and alert in the cabinet room" test today. And remember, this was a meeting about the most important thing the cabinet can ever discuss: war.
The morale of their fighters plummeting, and we see that disconnect daily. They're privately admitting, as you said, Mr. President, very heavy losses. We know that. President Trump has given us a clear mission. Our capabilities are only going up and Iran's are plummeting. We are here to win, and we're full speed ahead.
And while he was at it, Donald Trump failed another self-administered cognitive test by being incoherent and wildly wrong about very, very simple things.
Hey guys, welcome back. Adam is here. So what just happened? Trump allegedly received an arrest warrant from Judge Emmit Sullivan related to the Epstein witness tampering case. He reportedly disrupted courtroom proceedings by shouting "illegal coup" and refusing to comply with the judge's orders.
Some federal judges across the country are getting increasingly upset with the Trump administration for not complying with their orders in cases involving immigrants. The New York Times reports, quote, at least 35 times since August, federal judges have ordered the administration to explain why it should not be punished for violating their orders in immigration cases. For instance, one judge ordered an immigrant be released from custody in Minnesota, but instead the man was let go in El Paso. The Times says this has come up multiple times in California, Texas, Florida, Massachusetts, Michigan, New York, West Virginia, and Puerto Rico.
He then went silent on Truth Social for 6 hours, highly unusual for him. The warrant marks a historic moment where the judiciary directly challenged a sitting president's claim to be above the law. That was the breaking point. That was the moment when Judge Sullivan decided that he had seen enough, heard enough, and tolerated enough. That was the moment when the judicial system said, no more. Judge Sullivan ordered Trump ejected from the courtroom.
And also, we cannot allow a handful of communist radical left judges to obstruct the enforcement of our laws and assume the duties that belong solely to the President of the United States.
When President Trump lost a battle in court to deport migrants, he called the judge a lunatic. When immigration crackdowns were ruled illegal, he called the judges monsters. It's incendiary comments like that that have provoked a torrent of death threats. Our reporting found hundreds of threats were left on judges' voicemails. This one after a judge ruled the president had violated the First Amendment.
I hope your whole family and everybody you love is raped in front of you and has their heads cut off.
And this one after a judge ruled the president couldn't cut certain government benefits.
And I wish somebody would assassinate your ass.
It's a volcano of vitriol.
I double dare you to try to put charges on Donald J. Trump. You son of a bitch.
It falls to the U.S. Marshals to pinpoint the verbal threats that might lead to physical violence. Judges told us the Marshals are overwhelmed. Last year, 400 federal judges were targets of serious threats, a 78% jump in 4 years.
Marshals physically removed the President of the United States from a federal courtroom. Let that sink in. The most protected man in America, surrounded by Secret Service, was grabbed, escorted, and thrown out like a common defendant who couldn't behave himself. And then, after the room calmed down, after the doors closed, after Trump was gone, Judge Sullivan sat down at his bench and did something no federal judge has ever done in American history. He issued an emergency contempt arrest warrant for the President of the United States.
An extraordinary escalation this morning between President Trump and the federal courts. The Trump administration appealing overnight after a judge threatened criminal contempt against them, saying officials ignored his order to turn around deportation flights headed to El Salvador last month. Judge James Boasberg writing, "The Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders." The judge writing, "Contempt proceedings will start if those hundreds of Venezuelan migrants don't get a chance to legally challenge their removal." The clash coming just hours after another federal judge chastised the administration for ignoring a Supreme Court ruling to facilitate the return of a man mistakenly deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador.
Not a threat, not a warning, not a "we'll see you in court." an actual, enforceable, immediate arrest warrant, the kind you issue for a fugitive, the kind that authorizes law enforcement to put handcuffs on someone, take them into custody, and hold them without bail. That warrant has Trump's name on it. And it is active right now as you're reading these words. If federal marshals locate Donald Trump at this very moment, they have the legal authority to arrest him, to handcuff him, to take him to a holding cell, to bring him before a judge. Judge Sullivan didn't do this lightly. He wrote a ruling, a detailed, lengthy, legally devastating ruling. He cited the statute 18 U.S.C. Section 401, the federal criminal contempt law. He laid out the evidence that Trump violated that statute repeatedly, deliberately, and knowingly. He cited the leaked Bondi memo showing Trump ordered redactions in official documents. He cited testimony proving that Kash Patel lied under oath to protect Trump. He cited the witness medical report confirming that a witness genuinely believed Trump ordered blackout operations against them. He cited recordings. He cited emails. He cited testimony after testimony after testimony. And then Sullivan made a finding that will go down in history books, a finding that will be quoted in law schools for generations. Sullivan said that Trump is a clear threat to justice. Sullivan said that Trump is dangerous. Sullivan said that Trump's conduct proves he's willing to use the power of his office to obstruct investigations and tamper with witnesses. Sullivan said that Trump cannot be trusted to follow the law or obey court orders. Sullivan said that Trump is a flight risk because he might try to flee the country to avoid prosecution. And Sullivan said that immediate action is necessary to protect the integrity of the entire judicial system. Then he signed the warrant. The warrant says that if marshals or FBI agents locate Donald Trump, they are authorized to arrest him immediately. They can take him into custody. They can handcuff him. They can hold him without bail. They can bring him before a judge for an arrest hearing. There is no waiting period. There is no delay. There is no, we'll give him a chance to turn himself in. The warrant is live. The warrant is active. And every federal law enforcement officer in the country now has the legal authority to put the President of the United States in handcuffs. Now, let me tell you why this is absolutely catastrophic for Trump, and why he's currently sitting in the White House frozen in a kind of terror we have never seen from him before. Trump cannot leave the White House. Think about that. The President of the United States, the man with access to Air Force One, Marine One, a motorcade, and unlimited government resources, cannot walk out his own front door without risking arrest. If he tries to go anywhere public, marshals might be waiting. If he tries to go to a rally, marshals might be in the crowd. If he tries to board a plane, marshals might be at the airport. If he tries to flee, if he tries to hide, if he tries to do anything other than sit exactly where he is, he can be arrested on the spot. Trump is essentially under house arrest in his own residence. The White House has become his prison cell. The most famous address in America is now a trap, and Trump knows it. That's why he's silent. That's why his phone hasn't lit up with Truth Social posts in over 6 hours. 6 hours. For a man who normally posts every 20 minutes, who rants and raves and attacks anyone who looks at him wrong, who calls in to news programs at all hours of the night, 6 hours of silence is a scream. It's the sound of a man who has finally realized that this is real, that the game is over, that no amount of bluster, no tweet storm, no rally crowd, no loyalist in Congress can save him now. He's not posting because he has nothing to say. He's not ranting because he has no defense. He's not attacking because he has no target that can save him. According to reports coming out of the White House, Trump is frozen in terror. He's not eating. He's not talking to advisors. He's just sitting there staring at the walls because he's finally understanding the math. The courts have rejected him. Congress has rejected him. The Senate turned against him on the DHS deal. His own cabinet is meeting right now to discuss removing him from office via the 25th Amendment. And now a federal judge has signed an arrest warrant for his head. The walls are closing in from every direction and there's no door. This all happened in less than 24 hours. Yesterday morning, Trump was still technically in charge, still the president with full authority, still giving orders, still expecting people to jump when he snapped his fingers. Then the Supreme Court ruled against him. Then he got ejected from a courtroom. Then Congress moved against him. Then the Senate flipped on a key vote. Then he fired his attorney general in a blind panic. Then Judge Sullivan signed the warrant. One day. One single day took Trump from the Oval Office to the edge of a federal prison cell. One day destroyed everything he spent years building. And the cabinet is meeting right now. Right now, as you read this, Mike Vance is in that room. He's sitting at the head of a table full of cabinet members who took an oath to protect the Constitution. He's making the case to every single one of them that Trump needs to be removed immediately. Vance is pointing to the arrest warrant as proof that Trump is unfit for office. Vance is arguing that the president cannot do his job when he's facing imminent arrest, when he's trapped in the White House, when he's considering insane options like military resistance. Vance is counting votes, and the word from inside that room is that he's very close. He needs 4 more cabinet members to vote with him, just 4. And according to sources, he probably has them. The 25th Amendment vote is happening tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight. By midnight, Trump might no longer be president of the United States. By the time you wake up tomorrow morning, Mike Vance might be sitting in the Oval Office. Think about that timeline. Trump could be removed from office and arrested on the same day. He could go from commander-in-chief to federal inmate in a matter of hours. He could be sitting in a holding cell while Mike Vance is sworn in as president. That is not hyperbole. That is not speculation. That is the actual legal reality of where we are right now. That is how fast the dominoes are falling. And here's where it gets even worse for Trump. The contempt warrant is just the beginning. This is separate from the obstruction of justice charges, separate from the witness tampering charges, separate from the potential life sentence that Sullivan has already warned Trump about. The contempt charge carries its own penalties, its own prison time, its own conviction. Trump is now facing multiple criminal cases, multiple trials, and multiple ways to end up behind bars. This isn't one bullet. This is a firing squad. Judge Sullivan has been watching this case for weeks. He's seen the evidence. He's heard the testimony. He's read the memos. And he's come to a conclusion that he wrote down in black and white, in a legal ruling that will follow Trump for the rest of his life. Sullivan said that Trump is guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. Sullivan didn't say there's a case to answer. He didn't say there's enough evidence to go to trial. He said the evidence is ironclad. He said there's no doubt about what happened here. He said Trump committed obstruction and witness tampering, and he said it in a formal judicial finding. That matters. That matters enormously. Because when this goes to trial, and it will go to trial, the judge has already signaled what he believes. The judge has already reviewed the evidence and found it overwhelming. Trump's lawyers can argue all they want, but they're arguing to a judge who has already made up his mind based on the facts. That's not justice. That's a done deal. Now, let me tell you about the rumors coming out of the White House, because they are absolutely terrifying. According to sources, multiple sources, Trump is considering something insane, something illegal, something that would turn this constitutional crisis into an outright civil confrontation. Trump is talking about using the military to resist the arrest warrant. He's talking about ordering the Pentagon to protect him. He's talking about some kind of confrontation with federal law enforcement. He's talking about calling in the National Guard. He's talking about declaring some kind of emergency. Think about what that means. That would be a sitting president using the United States military to resist a lawful court order. That would be a president ordering American soldiers to fight against American law enforcement. That would be treason. That would be a coup attempt. That would be the end of any pretense of constitutional order. That would be the moment where the United States stops being a democracy and starts being something else entirely. And Trump is apparently considering it. He's actually thinking about giving that order. But Trump is desperate. Trump is cornered. Trump is a man who has spent his entire life believing that power protects him, that money protects him, that fame protects him. And now he's facing a reality where no amount of power, no amount of money, no amount of fame can save him. So he's reaching for the only card he has left, even if playing it would destroy everything. He's like a gambler who has lost everything and is now betting his house on one last hand. But the house is already gone. He just doesn't know it yet. Here's the thing, though. The military would almost certainly refuse. The generals are not going to follow an order to resist a federal arrest warrant. The military respects the rule of law. The military takes an oath to the Constitution, not to the man sitting in the Oval Office. If Trump gives that order, he'll be ignored at best, and at worst, he'll face additional charges for attempting to use military force to obstruct justice. His own desperation is going to dig him even deeper into the hole he's already in. He's not escaping, he's just making it worse. Meanwhile, the rest of the government is moving against him. Congress is preparing statements, the Senate is organizing, the cabinet is voting, and the Marshals are waiting. Every institution that Trump spent years mocking, attacking, undermining, and trying to dismantle is now closing in on him from all sides. The courts say no. Congress says no. The cabinet says no. The Marshals are ready to say no with handcuffs. And Trump is silent. The man who always has something to say, always has a tweet, always has an insult, always has a conspiracy theory, has nothing. Because for the first time in his life, he has no move left, no card to play, no escape hatch. Let me explain what the contempt charge actually means legally, because a lot of people don't understand how serious this is. Contempt of court is not a technical violation. It's not a minor infraction. It's not a slap on the wrist. It's a criminal offense that carries real prison time. When a judge holds you in contempt, that judge has the power to sentence you right there in the courtroom. No jury, no appeal bond, no delay, no expensive lawyers getting you off on a technicality. The judge can look you in the eye and say, 30 days, and 30 days is what you get. The judge can say, 6 months, and 6 months is what you serve. Now, Judge Sullivan didn't sentence Trump today. He issued an arrest warrant instead. That means he wants Trump brought before him in custody. He wants to look Trump in the eye, face to face, and ask him why he shouldn't go to jail. And given Sullivan's written ruling, given his finding that Trump is dangerous and a flight risk and a threat to justice, it's not hard to predict how that hearing is going to go. Trump is going to be looking at real jail time for contempt alone before we even get to the obstruction charges. He could be sitting in a cell before the first witness is called in the main trial. And the obstruction charges are even worse. Judge Sullivan has already said the evidence proves Trump's guilt beyond any reasonable doubt. That's an extraordinary statement for a judge to make before a trial. Judges are supposed to be neutral. Judges are supposed to wait for juries. Judges are supposed to be umpires calling balls and strikes, not commentators telling you who's winning. But Sullivan has seen so much evidence, so much proof, so much documentation of Trump's crimes that he's willing to say publicly what he believes. Trump is guilty, the evidence is ironclad, and there's no doubt. That means when Trump goes to trial, and he will go to trial, he's going to lose. He's going to be convicted. He's going to be sentenced. And because the charges include witness tampering and obstruction of justice in a case involving national security, Trump is facing serious time. Not months, years, possibly decades, possibly the rest of his life. We're talking about a man who is not young. We're talking about a man who could easily spend whatever years he has left behind bars. Trump knows this. That's why he's frozen. That's why he's silent. That's why he's not eating. That's why he's not talking. That's why he's considering insane options like military resistance. He's a man who has run from consequences his entire life. He's cheated on taxes. He's cheated on wives. He's cheated on business partners. He's cheated on contractors. He's lied to everyone. And every single time he got away with it. Every single time he found a way out. Every single time the rules didn't apply to him. But now the consequences have caught up to him. There's nowhere left to run. There's nowhere left to hide. The warrant is signed, the cabinet is voting, the Marshals are waiting, and Trump is sitting in the White House, trapped, terrified, and finally realizing that it's over. Let's talk about what happens next, because the next few hours are going to determine the future of the country. This is not a drill. This is not a movie. This is real life happening right now. The cabinet vote. Mike Vance is in that room right now. He's making his case. He's counting his votes. He's twisting arms. He's making deals. He's reminding every cabinet member of their oath. If he gets to the votes he needs, if he gets 4 more cabinet members to agree, Trump is removed immediately. Not in a week. Not after a hearing. Immediately. Vance becomes president the second the vote is certified. Trump becomes a private citizen. And a private citizen under arrest warrant can be arrested the same as anyone else. There's no more presidential immunity. There's no more Secret Service bubble. There's no more, you can't touch me. There's just a man with a warrant out for his head. The arrest. Once Trump is removed, or even before if Marshals decide to act, the warrant is active and waiting. If Trump steps foot outside the White House, he can be arrested. If he stays inside, he's still under siege. He can't govern. He can't lead. He can't sign executive orders. He can't talk to foreign leaders. He can't do anything except wait for the inevitable. The arrest is coming. It's not a question of if. It's a question of when. And when is probably measured in hours, not days. The transition. Mike Vance is about to become president of the United States. That means a new administration, new policies, new leadership. Vance is going to have to stabilize a government that's been shaken to its core. He's going to have to reassure allies who are watching in horror. He's going to have to confront enemies who are celebrating. He's going to have to rebuild trust in American institutions that have been damaged by years of Trump's attacks. It's a massive task, an almost impossible task, but Vance is not under arrest. Vance is not facing criminal charges. Vance can actually do the job. The prosecution. Once Trump is out of office, the full weight of the justice system is going to come down on him. The Epstein case is just the beginning. There are other investigations, other charges, other prosecutors who have been waiting for the day when Trump no longer had presidential immunity. That day is coming. And when it arrives, Trump is going to find himself in a courtroom, sitting at the defense table, watching a jury decide whether he spends the rest of his life in prison. He's going to be handcuffed. He's going to be fingerprinted. He's going to be photographed. He's going to be processed like every other criminal. And the global implications? They're enormous. World leaders are watching this unfold right now in real time. Allies are shocked. Enemies are celebrating. Vladimir Putin is probably laughing on Russian state television right now, pointing at the screen and saying, "Look at America. Look at how weak they are. Look at how broken their system is." China is pointing at America and saying, "See, their democracy is a failure. Their rule of law is a joke." Iran is celebrating the fall of the man who ordered the strike on Soleimani. The United States looks weak, unstable, like a country that can't control its own leader, like a country that's falling apart. That damage is going to take years to repair. Decades, maybe. But here's the truth. The system worked. A federal judge looked at a president who thought he was above the law and said, "No." A cabinet is meeting to remove a president who has become a threat to the country. Congress is standing up. The courts are standing up. The rule of law is standing up. It's messy. It's chaotic. It's terrifying to watch in real time. But the alternative, letting Trump get away with it, letting him destroy the justice system, letting him become a king instead of a president, would have been worse. Much worse. Unimaginably worse. Trump is silent because he knows. He's frozen because he understands. He's terrified because for the first time in his life, he's facing something he can't tweet his way out of, can't lie his way out of, can't bully his way out of, can't pay his way out of. He's facing justice. Real justice. The kind that doesn't care how much money you have or what title you hold. The kind that doesn't care if you were on television. The kind that doesn't care if you have millions of followers. The kind that puts handcuffs on your wrists and locks you in a cell and throws away the key. The next few hours are going to be historic. The cabinet vote is coming. The arrest is coming. The removal is coming. By the time you finish reading this sentence, the situation may have changed. By the time you share this with someone, Trump might already be out of office. By the time you check the news in the morning, he might already be in custody. This is moving faster than any of us can keep up with. This is the endgame. This is the final chapter. This is the moment where the man who thought he could do anything, say anything, threaten anyone, and get away with everything finally learns that no one, not even the President of the United States, is above the law. Not even a man who once sat in the Oval Office. not even a man who commanded the most powerful military in human history. The law is the law, and the law has come for Donald Trump. And Trump, for all his bluster, for all his lies, for all his attacks on the justice system, for all his claims of witch hunts and hoaxes, is finally learning that lesson the hardest way possible. He's learning it in silence, in terror, in a White House that has become his cage. He's learning it as the cabinet votes to remove him, as the Marshals wait to arrest him, as the judge prepares to sentence him. Stay tuned, stay informed, stay awake if you can. Because this is history. This is the day the rule of law won. This is the day the president was held accountable. And it happened because one judge, one courtroom, one piece of paper said something that needed to be said for a very long time. Enough is enough. No more. Not one more day. Not one more lie. Not one more crime. Enough.